What you don't do is often more important than what you do. This is minus Michelle, and this is episode number 44, What You Don't Do. Welcome to the I Cut the Mustard show, where a plant-based diet and small, simple moves make healthy change happen. And where we believe that you already have what it takes to slice through any barrier that stands in your way. Shing! You're sharp enough. You cut the mustard. Hey, welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking about what you don't do, right? Don't do what you don't want to do. We actually talk about this a lot on the podcast, but I wanted to create a special episode because I think this is really cool. A lot of times we think about, what do I need to do to feel better? What do I need to do to lose weight? What do I need to do to fix my kids or to be happy at work? Or whatever it is, we're always looking for things that we're doing, right? Because we like to be actively engaged in finding a solution. But the cool thing is that a lot of times what we don't do is actually the answer, right? So I got this concept from this book called The Pleasure Trap. And it's talking about a lot of ways that we have evolved as a species and just like our brain programming and stuff, and how we're programmed to seek pleasure, to avoid pain, and to make things as easy as possible. And because of a lot of our modern advances, sometimes that shoots us in the foot and we end up making things worse than they actually are. So in the book, he talks about this idea that the concept of zero in mathematics took a long, centuries and centuries for us to even figure out. That just as humans, we don't often think about what we don't do. We don't think about zero. We don't think about the lack and how important that is in our lives. So today I'm going to go through a lot of different areas of our lives and the ways that what we don't do is important in these areas. So we're going to start with food, as always, because we all love food, right? That's one of those motivations, seeking pleasure, right? So we all love food, and a lot of times we think about, what should I eat, right? What should I eat to lose weight? What should I eat to feel good? What should I eat to have energy? A lot of people are asking me, maybe I'm missing some certain nutrient. What nutrient am I missing? I know I used to think about this all the time too. Like, I must be missing something. That's why I'm having digestive issues. But the cool thing is, a lot of times it's what you don't do that matters, right? So for example, take allergies. We're all familiar with that these days. So with allergies, it's what you don't eat that matters. With alcohol and drugs, it's what you don't eat that matters. It's the fact that you don't smoke that decreases your likelihood of cancer. And as veggie, whole food, vegetable enthusiasts, we know that processed food, meat, dairy, salt, sugar, oil, refined flours, right? Those are not that great for our body. And when we remove those from our diet, it makes a huge difference. It clears up space in our body so that our body can do other things, right? It doesn't have to clear out all that junk, all the trash that we're putting in our body. So it has more energy for other things. We feel more energetic. We sleep better, right? So it's what we're not eating that matters just as much or more than what we are eating. And whenever you take all of those yucky foods out, what you're left with is a lot of great whole foods, vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, grains, right? So a lot of times, again, we think that there's a certain nutrient that we need. There must be something that's missing from our diet. But nowadays, in our modern world, it's not what we're missing, it's what we're eating too much of that makes a difference in our lives. So that's food for you. All right. So thinking about all the different things that we could take out, what we don't do with food, would make a huge, huge difference. And just before we leave food, I mean, I think this is a it's an easy concept to grasp, but I don't think we realize how important it is. Because if you could imagine, I use this analogy with my kids. If, let's say, I tell them, if you have this super messy room, what if I go in and I told you to clean your room, but I go in and I start destroying stuff in your room. Like I just keep bringing stuff in and dumping it into your room. I'm grabbing stuff off the shelves and I'm throwing it down and I'm breaking it and I'm just wreaking havoc on your room while you're trying to clean it. What would happen? How well could you clean your room if I'm doing that? Not very well, right? So, and on the flip side, if I take stuff out of your room, maybe you're cleaning your room and I help you take the trash out, or if I help you organize things on the shelves, right? Maybe I bring in an organizer or something like that, then that obviously you're able to clean your room a lot faster. So I like to use that analogy with food as well, which I think it makes total sense that if you're putting these foods in your body that are not healthy for you, the processed foods, the oil, the salt, the sugar, the meat, the dairy, when you put that in, then it's like throwing that trash into your room and it's making it a lot more difficult for your body. It's taking a lot more energy and a lot more time for your body to get that out, right? But if you put vegetables and fruits in, those are healing. So those are just like me going in and helping you repair your room and make it back to its beautiful state, right? So we can see from that analogy that obviously, what you don't do, what you don't throw into your room is going to make a big difference when you're trying to clean it, right? So the next area that I want to talk about is just sickness or illness, right? We can take the example of the flu or just the common cold. What does your body do? It stops, right? It's what it doesn't do. It rests. It doesn't run around, right? Whenever you get sick, you want to just sleep all the time. You don't want to eat things and you just want to drink very little water, right? So that's our body's natural way of resting and healing itself. And that's true for sleep any day, right? Whenever we sleep at night, our body switches into that relaxation mode. It goes into repairing our body and growth whenever we're sleeping. So whenever we're not doing stuff, we're actually doing stuff, right? But it's important to not do so that your body can relax and repair itself. And then with our schedule, for example, I've been talking a lot and thinking a lot about my schedule lately, and it's important in our schedule, the things that we don't do are just as important, right? We can easily overschedule ourselves. And I think a lot of people during this coronavirus, one of the benefits has been realizing that we've overscheduled ourselves in the past and having the opportunity to take out a lot of the activities that we normally do and kind of have a reset and say, hey, which activities are actually beneficial to me and which ones maybe there's some that I don't want to do in the future, right? So just freeing up your schedule gives you time to serve other people, right? If opportunities come along, you've got some free space in your schedule, you could take advantage of those opportunities to maybe help other people, or maybe there's just other new opportunities that are coming your way that you wouldn't have seen if you're so busy, right? And the same thing goes for media and just how we spend our time with input, right? If we're always watching TV, if we're always listening to the radio, if we're always looking at our phone, then our brain doesn't have time to relax and think and be creative and enjoy our life, right? We don't have time to look around and be meditative and just take in what's around us and enjoy the moment. So that's the schedule. So far we've talked about food, right? What you don't do is so important. Whenever you get sick or you're ill, our body naturally stops doing a lot of things so that we can get better. And then with our schedules, of course, saying no, not overscheduling is just as important as the things that we choose to do with our lives. So next up, let's talk about relationships, right? There's a lot of things that you don't do in relationships that make a big difference, right? What you don't say sometimes, keeping your mouth shut when you're not in the nicest state, whenever you're angry or upset, it's nice to keep your mouth shut and not say anything for a while until you can collect your thoughts. Not cheating on your partner, that's a big deal, right? In most relationships, there's a lot of things we want to not do in order to be faithful to our partner. So in relationships, this is equally as helpful. And then I'm just going to end with stress, of course, because we know that when we stop stressing, that's when we clear space for other thoughts that are more helpful. We can relax and we can start fitting into those skinny jeans. Because again, remember, stress comes from mental and emotional strain. So that mental and emotional strain comes from the building up of thoughts, right? You're not listening to yourself, or you're thinking the same thing over and over and over. That's causing some really strong emotions. And with that, you've got an emotional buildup, right? All of those thoughts are creating lots of big emotions, and many of us are going to social media and we're overscheduling ourselves. Like I said, we're eating, we're going and we're trying to add things to our lives. But what we don't do is more important, right? Whenever we sit and we relax and we process those emotions, then we've got space and the strain diminishes and we get to stop stressing. So as you stop stressing, then your body stops freaking out, right? It relaxes and it can go into that healing mode. It can release excess fat. And for all the reasons that we already talked about, you're not overindulging. So you're less likely to be gaining weight and being sick, right? So what you don't do is what we're talking about all the time on the podcast. I think it's a super cool concept. So what are you not going to do this week? That's my question for you today. Is there something in your schedule? Is there something that you're eating that you'd like to cut out? Maybe something with your relationships you need to stop saying or doing, right? So what is it in your life right now that you need to stop doing this week in order to enjoy your life more fully and show up as the best version of yourself? So I've got one for today. I was looking back at I'm always looking at my business, trying to decide how I can focus better and get more done with less, because I tend to get overwhelmed very easily. So starting next week, we're going back to 1 podcast per week. So I was excited about doing 5 a week because I felt like it was going to have a lot of benefits for me and for you, but I feel like it's just too much, honestly. It's also, I think it's a little bit too much for you. Like, it's hard to listen to 5 podcasts. I know whenever some of my podcasts that I listened to did 5 a week or several in a row, I just got overwhelmed and kind of gave up. But I think what we don't do is going to be amazing. So if you want to share what it is that you're not doing this week, I'd love that. Just reply in the email if you're on my email list, or send a comment to icutthemustard.com/44. And I love to read those there. As always, hit the share button. Send this with a friend if you know someone who needs it. And I'd love any reviews that you've got for me as well. So thanks so much. Have a great week. What's one thing that's really been weighing you down? Are you ready to kick it to the side? Then join me for a Stress Less call today, where you'll learn the #1 mindset tool that I use to stop stressing and find relief right now. Go to icutthemustard.com/stressless to sign up for that call today.